To me, the idea of play or balance or time off or whatever you want to call it is built into my perspective or my mindset. It's literally the reason. Like, my business exists to for my benefit, not the other way around. So the finding time away, finding time to sort of recharge my battery or do other things that excite me and sort of fill me up is incredibly important. I opened my restaurant in January, I think January 15th of 2014. The first pizza expo I ever went to was in 2014, in March. So I had a restaurant that had been open for 6 weeks. We were incredibly busy. I had spent at least 6 years getting this thing off the ground, had to step over every possible hurdle. And to give you an idea how crazy it was, this is in January, in the middle of the winter, in a small little town. I have a 60-seat restaurant. We're doing like 280 or 300 a night. Wow. Because the demand was just outrageous. For pizzakase, the guest basically books. Typically they book online. And so the only expectation the guest has is basically that they're going to just get what we give them, right? I think the description of the pizzakase tells the guest something to the effect of, right in the spirit of Japanese omakase, just let us smash you with pizza and we'll go from there. So it's cool. I have basically I've got a counter in front of me. I've got a long, like maybe a 20-foot counter. I've got my saute and my garde manger station, and the pizza station's right next to that at the end. So I basically reserved the 4 seats right in front of me. So the guest basically sits down, pretty basic standard. Like, we greet them, make sure they have some beverages. We offer them a wine pairing. We'll start with like a small little, sort of like a starter or a small little appetizer. And then I'll just ask them, is there anything they don't eat, anything they're allergic to, anything that's going to send them to the hospital if I give it to them. We just feed them pizza until they don't want to eat pizza anymore. Most people tap out probably around 3 pizzas, but certainly we've had guests that are just like, keep coming, right? And obviously if that's their spirit and if they're that into it, like, we're going to bring it just as hard for them. I had a woman, my first year I was open, I had a woman, and she was really sweet, and I really appreciated where she was coming from. She was sort of like, she had some feedback for me, and she was getting like in the mom zone. And to give you some context, like she and her husband, I learned, had some sort of a franchise business that failed just recently, and she came into my pizzeria and she was trying to offer her feedback. And I said, well, just come meet me. I'd love to talk to you about it, right? I've been open for 6 months. I'd love to talk to you about it. And look, my pizza is so much better than it was in our first 6 months. Also, in our first 6 months, I was really proud of what we were doing, right? And this woman basically said, after all was said and done, she kept commenting on the price. And so I said to her, well, it sounds like you just don't value what was on the plate, because price means many things to many people, right? But what we're talking about is value. She kept talking about price. And I said, how little would I have to charge you for you to think it tastes good? If I charge you $5, would you think it tastes good? Would you think it wasn't burnt? Would you not freak out about the crust? Well, she doesn't have an answer for that. No one has an answer for that, right? And so I don't know where that came from in the moment. But ultimately it just comes from this idea of like, price is not irrelevant, but also if you, as a pizza operator in the world, as much as we're very much into this artisanal people, a lot of people like me, and a lot of people that inspired me, a lot that I know, a lot that I don't know, who are taking this like really hyper personal pizza thing into the world, we're still vastly outnumbered by cheap multinational convenience and robots and all kinds of other things.